Hey everyone, today we're going to discuss something I was recently asked about, and that is finger picking. So what that really means is I'm not going to be using a guitar pick today. I'm going to be using my fingers to pluck the strings, and let's just go over some of the basics. Now I took classical many moons ago at college, and the teacher was so strict that every time I would go into class he would break out 3 different grades of nail files and file my fingernails for me so that they would roll off the strings better. We're not going to get that picky today. We're just going to go over some of the basic fundamentals that will get you playing finger picking a lot easier. The first thing you want to know are what the designations for the fingers are when you look at charts, because you're going to see things above what you're supposed to be picking with letters like P, I, M, and A. And what that refers to is P, I, M, A. So those letters come from the Spanish terms for those particular digits. So you'll know that when I refer to something as P-I-M-A, I'm going thumb, index, middle, and ring. That's P-I-M-A, P-I-M-A. Then you want to discuss the setup on the guitar. Now I always tell students, regardless of how big your guitar is, you want the ability to come over the top and drop down into the strings almost like a spider might drop down into them. You don't want to be flat. And in other words, flat wrist is great for flat picking, but when you are finger picking, you want your fingers to have the ability to have follow through. And if you're flat, they can't really do that. You're going to have to raise your knuckles up. So you want to raise your wrist just a little bit. It doesn't have to be dramatic, more like classical players might be, but you also want to have your thumb out front. I refer to it as the hitchhiker's thumb. You put that out front like that, and then that allows the other fingers to come up into the palm of your hand as you are plucking the strings. You don't want those fingers running into the thumb. Obviously, what will happen when people are playing, they'll use their thumb like that, and it ends up going behind their fingers, and they just run into each other. So the best technique to have is to have it a little bit out front. And again, these are ideals. These are not easy to maintain when you start playing, because your brain gets wrapped around, well, what's my left hand supposed to be doing, and how long am I going to stay on that string and that particular fret, and you just forget the whole right hand technique down here. So a good setup would be putting the thumb on the 6th string, your index finger on the 3rd string, your 2 finger on the 2nd string, and your 3 finger on the 1st strings. So in other words, P on the 6th string, I on the 3rd, M on the 2nd, and A on the 1st. That's my setup, and I'm going to put my thumb a little bit out front like that so that I'm plucking off the side of the thumb, not off the tip, off the side of the thumb. And then as I pluck the other strings, I'm going to be pulling the finger up towards the palm of my hand like this. Okay, so I'm not really picking at it, I'm kind of plucking upwards. We let it ring. And one of the best practices you can do right away, just to get comfortable with this entire technique, is to play an E minor chord. Now you don't even have to fret down here. That's why this is an ideal setup. We won't even worry about the left hand right now, or your fretting hand. Let's go down here, and we're going to pluck the E string, the G string, the B, and the E. So 6, 3, 2, 1. Once you are semi-comfortable with that, then let's come back down a little bit like this. All the while you're thinking about maintaining your thumb out front, and I only say that over and over because it just happens that we always end up dragging it behind the other fingers. So keep your other fingers curled so that they can have that follow through, and then your thumb out front like that, and practice this E minor chord. Okay, I don't necessarily have great timing on that right now. I'm not worried about that. What I'm concerned about is plucking the strings properly and making sure that I maintain that good technique and getting accustomed to that, because this is how you're going to finger pick almost everything. You want to maintain that good technique because it's going to help you down the road when you have to do things that are a little faster and you have to go through the strings quickly. All right, so we've established a good starting point would just be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So let's take it to some other chords. Maybe now cycle through some chords that you know. Let's do a G chord. Now, I don't expect you to be playing through that G chord that quickly if you're just beginning finger picking, but the idea is just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and you're going to pluck the root of the chord. So in this case, I'm plucking the 6th string, and then just I'm playing the 3rd, 2nd, and 1st strings. Then let's move on maybe to a D chord. The root of my D chord is the 4th string, so I'm going to pluck the 4th string with the thumb, and then I-M-A with the other fingers. So P-I-M-A is going to be lined up completely on the bottom 4 strings here. Move it maybe to an A minor. And then maybe to a C major. And then back to my G. So you'll notice that I followed the root of each chord by teaching myself that to put my thumb on the root, and that is my anchor point. So G, I went D, 4th string, A minor, 5th string, and then C. And what did I do right there? I switched my fingers as well to now playing the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings with my other fingers here, my IMAs. You can change that up, okay? You don't always have to play the high strings. You can kind of experiment and see what you like. But you could, on one chord like I did G like that, I did D like this. Then I went to A minor and I went to the inside strings there. So 5, 4, 3, 2. And then C chord. So with this first exercise, simply experiment with that. Once you have that down, the next process might be to just play the whole chord together. So, in other words, if I'm playing a G, see if you can pluck all the strings at one time. It's a little weird for some people. They'd rather do individual strings than doing all the strings together. But it really teaches you to go back to your home position here where your setup is. Then maybe my D, my A minor again, and my C major. A lot of people really like that because you're very connected to the guitar. You're coming down on the strings every time. You're not floating above and picking with something that, while you can feel the string reacting to the pick, it's not, you know, as tactile as actually grabbing the strings with your picking hand. So a lot of people prefer that, and it is really a cool concept to get down and be able to start playing entire chords that way. Again, it's teaching your brain and your hands to target the bass notes as well with the thumb. Then I would try breaking it up, and what I mean by that is play the bass note and then the chord. So bass note, chord, bass note, chord. Go to the D, do the same thing. A minor, C. Once again, you're teaching your brain to not only target the bass notes, but to now start thinking of them as individual parts of the rhythm. So. Lastly, in this fingerpicking primer, I would take you to the place where you start developing your own little patterns. Now, we started the whole thing with this pattern. Very, very basic fingerpicking pattern, which you've heard probably on Metallica's Nothing Else Matters and a bunch of other things. But start making up a brand new pattern that you can apply to the chords that you're using to practice. So what if I did something like... So in this instance, I'm simply going bass, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. And it's just a pattern I made up, and then you can move it to the next chord. So I'll do it on the D chord now, same thing. So root, P, I, M, I, M, A, M, I. I don't always think of those terms like that, but if you're better at thinking of the P-I-M-A that way, you can do that. And then move to the A minor. And the C major. So altogether, what I was playing is basically this. What this finger picking does for you is it takes easy chords that you may already know, and you are applying a cool made-up pattern to them that really takes a chord that maybe you were just doing this with and apply something really nice and beautiful and sounds very different to the listener, and of course it sounds rhythmically quite different. But finger picking is a wonderful, wonderful way to take guitar playing to, especially, obviously rhythm playing, a completely different direction. So let's try those 3 exercises there, basically starting out with the basics, teaching your PIMA, and then playing the entire chord at the same time, and then maybe breaking that chord up, and then making up a couple of patterns on your own where you go. I hope that was helpful, and if you enjoyed this content, please make sure to hit that like button. It really does help my channel. And let me know in the comments if you have any suggestions that you would like to see future videos about. If you would like to support my channel, please make sure to head over to patreon.com/PaulWarrenMusic, where you can become a member. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you all next time.